You know, I got my first dirt bike at 4 years old for Christmas. We shortly moved to Vegas after that. I remember 2 days after moving to Vegas, there was a lot across the street from our track home, and that was the first time I rode my dirt bike, and motorcycles got its claws in me. You know, fast forward, I turned pro at 17, and I came home with half sleeves at 18. And I remember my old man looking at me. He was pretty traditional in those values, and he's like, man, you better hope this works for you because you ain't getting a job. In that moment for me, it wasn't, oh, I'm gonna go make millions of dollars like maybe a football or a baseball, kid would hope to. I just wanted to do what I love doing and pay my rent and keep the lights on. It wasn't a money thing for me, but if I had the opportunity to not go swing a shovel or a hammer and ride a dirt bike for a living, then that was a win. I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth through my motocross career. I was a lowly, dirty privateer, so I paid my dues, and through that was working with my hands on my motocross bikes. As I got more successful and made money, I had this huge interest in fabrication. 15 years ago, I got my first cold saw and I got a little MIG welder. And that kind of planted a seed in me, even away from V-twin motorcycles, but I wanted to make things with my hands. I've always done things with my hands, and I wanted to start to create and fabricate. As time has gone on, my shop has grown. I've got, every couple years I get a new piece of equipment. I learn how to use it, good, bad, or indifferent. Over the years, there's been more and more fabrication, now to the point where there's quite a few low-key hidden things that I fabricate on my motorcycles. And I love to challenge myself, and I love to create. My first custom build was, again, it was just hobby standpoint. I'd been going to motorcycle rallies with my buddy Big B for a decade. I wanted to try building a bike or customizing a bike, and it started back in 14 or 15, and I did a build for Born Free. I just took my influence from motocross and put that influence into the build that I did. Hopefully it was gonna get a good showing and ended up winning that category. My entry into V-twin was a complete absolute fluke. For the Sturgis 75th, it was a bucket list for me. I'd been to Sturgis at that point probably 6 or 7 times, and I got to be the Grand Marshal for Sturgis. Part of that, I got given a V-twin motorcycle. It got shipped to me earlier that year. I did my custom thing. This was just after doing the Born Free motorcycle, and I put my spin on the bike. Went to Sturgis, did my obligations, few magazines shot it. Cool, high five. I ride home with my buddies. I then got a phone call from Jordan, who was the editor of Bagger magazine that September. And he's like, hey, how serious about this motorcycle building thing are you? And out of nowhere, I blurted out like, I'm super into it. I'm serious about it. He's like, well, do you want to be an invited builder on Hot Bike Tour next year? Yep. Hang up the phone. I'm like, what the f did I just sign myself up for? So fast forward, I recruit Big B. He's living in Las Vegas. I say, hey, listen, I'm gonna need help with this. You're not really doing a whole lot of productive shit out there anyways. Move out here to California. Let's focus on this Hot Bike Tour build and go from there. And so it's just me and him in here, It's, we do quite a bit of smoke and mirrors, on the gram. You think we have all our shit together. It's a lot of trial and error. And it's truly just me and him outside of, working with painters and different people.
That is 100%, it's me and him. And people are always like, there's no way you guys do the work. But at the end of the day, the truth is, I actually do all the work on the motorcycles.
Yeah, I just take the credit.
There you go, at least you know now. And another thing is that people don't realize, and you should tell them, I'm actually his personal trainer, nutritionist. I'm his nutritionist,
yeah,
and now his barber. So we've been
he's one-stop shop.
I earn my money, that's for sure.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I just chill up at the house with the kids at the swimming pool, kind of come down, sketch some things, and then show back up 2 months later and the bikes are built. So it's a great relationship.
And show you how cool he is on social media. That's another one. So yeah, we got it.
He's my hype man.
Whoop whoop. You know what the coolest thing about the seat is?
It's mine.
You'll never forget it. You'll never lose it.
Exactly. It's got my name on it. F***ing guy. So in conjunction with doing this hot bike build, I just did my motocross thing on the bike. It won one of the stops, it had a good showing. But what really was intriguing me at the time is I just didn't love that chassis. I didn't love how that bike rode, how that bike handled. I rode one of my friend's box stock 2016 Chieftains, and the thing handled better, it turned better. I was like, holy, I gotta pursue this more. So I got through Hot Bike Tour that year, and I literally called up my manager. I said, you need to find out who is over at Indian. I really like these bikes and I want to work with them. So I cold called, said, you don't know me from Adam? I'm kind of starting to do this stuff in the V-twin world. I have a contract on the table with the other team, but I really like your motorcycles. There was no budget. I can give you a motorcycle and we can start a relationship. I said, done. Because I wasn't getting into it for the money. In my career as a motocross rider, I've ridden for every manufacturer except for KTM. And it wasn't about the pursuit of money, especially through my privateer years. It was the best motorcycle that I thought, the best motorcycle that I could perform on. And in my opinion, Indian by far was the best platform that I could perform on. I went that direction, I ripped up the contract, I got that one free motorcycle, and I started my now 10-year relationship with Indian. So my first experience meeting Ola was pretty amazing. You know, like I was pretty new to the Indian family at that point, kind of getting to know everybody, and we just hit it off. You know, like the fact that Ola, and I mean no disrespect saying this, he's not a computer guy that came out of some crazy high zoot school that probably doesn't ride or barely puts his leg over a bike, who could go design a car, a jet ski, or a motorcycle. He is hardcore motorcycle. He's passionate about motorcycle. He could do all those other things, but his heart is in motorcycling. And getting to know him and also having the relationship, like as I'm working on projects, like being able to feed him photos and like have him get super jazzed about it, you know, like as opposed to, well, I designed that motorcycle, you don't need to change anything. You know, like our designer builder relationship was just, it was just fuel for the fire for me and him. And we've been just kicking ass ever since. So much how motorcycling was the backbone of my family, like with myself, my dad, my uncles, I'm passing that on to my family, right? Like, so me and my wife started dating 23 years ago. You know, I told her from the jump, I go, listen, if you don't want to ride a motorcycle, I don't do the passenger thing. We got over that hump. I taught her how to ride, and it's great for our relationship. When my kids were born, my daughter, you know, a year old, she's on a BMX bike, and 3 years old, she's on a motorcycle. Same thing with my son, you know, so like motorcycling is our backbone, you know, like I do this purely out of passion, and thank God I'm able to do this as a career, and I'm appreciative of that of every day. It was part of my childhood growing up, it's part of my family's, their childhood, and I hope when my kids grow up, they're gonna pass it on to their kids. For me, is, you know, motocross has been and is such a huge part of my life, and I'll always ride. I always make the joke, like, I'd rather be the young guy on baggers rather than the old guy on dirt bikes. And now I'm getting to be in that zone where now I can just focus wholly on Indian and baggers and their platforms. And this is something I can do for the next 10, 15, 20 years. It's pretty easy for me to say, like, probably my most memorable moment was the experience of doing my first flip, the popularity, and that cycle of things. You know, like that was extreme highs and extreme lows through doing, you know, hurting myself, crashing, and succeeding. But like really, like as I've gotten older and like to sit back and reflect on my biggest accomplishment is from the age 4, getting onto motorcycles and turning pro at 17. Here I am at almost 49 years old, and I'm still doing it. You know, I still get a paycheck as a professional motocross rider, an extremely old one, but I still get to do that. And now to be able to live this new dream that I get to do with my best friend in Indian motorcycles, to be involved with 2 wheels now for almost 45 years, that's definitely like my highest moment. If it's street bikes, if it's motocross bikes, that track I have over there, that thing is gonna be ridden until I can't put my feet on the ground anymore. Like this isn't a fad for me. It's been ingrained in me since I was 3 years old. And I'll be riding motorcycles as long as I can walk. I'm Carey Hart and I love motorcycles.